Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are 40 minutes late. I totally apologize. It was dinner. It was the dog and everything, and so unfortunately, we are here. We are well. We're going to try our best to talk Cleveland Browns. It is your host, Brady Maxwell. I'm joined by Blake Hot Take McCoy. Cam Ward season is the #undertag name.
Mm-hmm.
Blake, give me some quick synopsis on the Cam Ward season. What's that about?
Dude, we're gonna get Cam Ward, top 5 pick. Plain and simple.
It's that time. It's that time already.
It is that time.
It is. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Cam Ward mock draft season is in full effect. Unfortunately. So, when that happens when you're 1-6. But good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be talking about a few things today. Unfortunately, we're going to be talking about the Deshaun Watson injury. We're going to be talking about the loss to the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow has defeated the curse and has beaten the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland for the first time in his NFL career. But before we get to all that, there is a highlighted story that we wanted to talk about that was breaking today. The city of Cleveland potentially suing the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Blake McCoy, can you talk through to the listeners about what's going on here?
So basically they want to use the Art Modell rule or Art Modell law, which states, I think it was done by one of the previous Cleveland mayors. And basically what it means is that if the Browns ever want to leave the city of Cleveland, either the city of Cleveland or a party or a third party has to be given the opportunity to buy the team. And obviously the Browns don't think this applies to them because they're still kind of in the Cleveland area. I mean, they're only 10 minutes south of true Cleveland. So there's a lot of push through the city, more than I thought there'd be on this. But it seems like they're trying to do a heavy push, and this seems like the last push they can do.
What exactly does this mean? Because the city of Cleveland, if I'm trying to think about their thought process, right? I mean, you're putting that law in effect because Art Modell obviously moved to the Ravens and everything like that. But at the same time, I think about it and I'm like, they're moving just to Brook Park, right? I mean, like they're not trying to move
literally right beside the Cleveland airport.
You know what I mean? Like they're trying to make it better. For a fan experience personally. I mean, we're trying to bring in a lot more venues in WWE and March Madness tournaments and even a Super Bowl, tons of nice concerts and things like that right next to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Not obviously it's not going to be as close as First Energy or whatever the stadium's called now. What's the stadium called now, by the way?
Huntington Bank Field.
Huntington Bank Field, that's right, the bank. So I forget it already because the names changed so much already. But at the same time, I feel like it's not that bad. But what do you think is the other NFL teams do it? You were talking to me about it at pre-show. Like other NFL teams do this, right?
It is nearly a third of the NFL. Okay, both the LA Rams and LA Chargers. They don't play in LA. They play in Inglewood, California. Okay, the New York Giants and the New York Jets, they play in Rutherford, New Jersey. The 49ers, they don't play in San Fran. They play in Santa Clara, which is like 50 miles away from San Fran. The Raiders, they don't play in Vegas. They play in Paradise, Nevada. Okay, Dallas Cowboys, they play in Arlington. Washington. They don't play in D.C. They play in Landover, Maryland. Okay. The Dolphins play in Miami Gardens. It's not true Miami. And the Buffalo Bills play in Orchard Park. Not Buffalo.
And I think I'm trying to figure out exactly like what maybe they're thinking more so the city of Cleveland itself. They're trying to preserve some of the financial gain that they get with the football team staying there. But again, they have basketball. They have Progressive Field for baseball with the Guardians. Like, and the Guardians are a perennial. It seems like it's going to be a perennial playoff team for, obviously with that salary cap. They're doing really good things with a team salary cap. I think 100 or something million. So it's like they're still going to bring in revenue, and I know that it's a Browns town and stuff like that. But if it's a Browns town, you got to give the Browns fans their kind of experience, and Brook Park is going to bring that. Everybody knows in the state of Ohio, there's the Buckeyes, there's the Bengals, there's the Cavs, there's the Columbus Crew, there's all this, there's so many different sports teams. The whole state is Cleveland Browns. Like it's a Cleveland Brown football, NFL football state. And you saw how many people were there for the Super Bowl. For the NBA championship parade for the Cavs. Obviously, it's going to be crazy for the Browns. The one question that I had for you, Blake, is if the Browns do, this is a huge if, obviously, and I know people are going to laugh in my face, but if and when the Browns win the Super Bowl, obviously you can't have a parade from Cleveland to Brook Park because that's too far. I mean, honestly,
they might have a line of people all the way.
They might have a line of fans. You never know. Maybe you can split up the parade. I don't know. I don't even know. But obviously, I would imagine you can have it in Brook Park. But I don't know, because I think about all those teams. I mean, look, what's the team that won the Super Bowl recently? Where did they have like the Giants? When the Giants won the Super Bowl, this is something we should have thought about to look up pre-show. But like when the Giants won the Super Bowl, I wonder where they had their Super Bowl parade. Like, you know what I mean? Like, where I don't know. Like, did they have it in East Rutherford near the stadium, or did they have it in New York somewhere? You know what I mean? Like so I don't know. It's something that we have to think about down the line. Like, where would you have the Super Bowl parade? Would you have it in downtown Cleveland, maybe, or would you have it in Brook Park? With that nice fan experience.
I think with the new facility, you would just have it there because you're basically building a whole new town.
You're building a Browns town. Like if the Cowboys won the Super Bowl, I don't know that they would.
I feel like they just have it at their stadium.
At their stadium. Like they would have a night, like you would have a whole Cowboy experience. It turns into Cowboy land there.
Like how they did with the Tom Brady night at the Patriots, where they did that whole stage on the field and everything. I feel like they would
just do it there.
The Browns Stadium.
Exactly. Instead of having it like in Boston. Like they'd probably do it because this is going to look beautiful. I mean, the schematics of the stadium and everything is beautiful. Do you agree with the Cleveland Browns leaving? What would you?
I just don't think it's really leaving to me. But I'm not a Clevelander, like born and raised. I just love Cleveland. I'm born and raised 3 hours and 20 minutes south of Cleveland. But to me, from the outside, it feels like it's still Cleveland to me. But like if they went to Canton or Columbus, then yeah, I would be pretty mad.
That I think that would be too far, right? Columbus would be too far. I think that Columbus is definitely Ohio State country, and you have a lot of Ohio State fans. It's one of those few things. I'm a personally Ohio State fan, and it's one of those things when it comes to football that we can lean on. That we're going to be in the college playoff pretty much consistently.
At least in the talks all the time.
In the talks all the time. I mean, all the time. Like I don't think the Ohio State Buckeyes will ever.
Sometimes I kind of hate it that we are.
You know what, and if
that's why I like the Browns, because I like some feistiness.
And we could talk about it for a quick second, right? I think that's what annoys me a little bit about college football when I'm watching the Ohio State Buckeyes is because we're always going to get 10 wins. Like that's always, you know what I mean? We're either going to have 2 losses, whether it be the Big Ten championship game or we're going to lose to Michigan, and we're pretty much consistently going to be winning football games. It's just a matter of, are we a top 5 finish or And if we're not, then that's pretty much a failure of a
See,
season.
that's why I like the NFL better,
Yeah,
because
you always get that
maybe
transition.
if I was a different like, maybe if I didn't like Ohio State and I was a fan of, like, some other random team that wasn't, like, always in the
Yeah,
talks every year,
yeah,
it'd be different, but that's why I don't like college football as much, because the Browns, like, I never know how good or bad they are. They can
yeah,
still win or lose the game no matter
yeah.
what. And the
Yeah.
Buckeyes, I just know they're gonna at least win 10 games, and I don't really have to watch a game till, like, over halfway through the season because 'cause they're playing, like, Marshall or Akron or somebody like that, and I'm just like, "What's the point of even watching these guys?"
100%. And usually, what I do with those games is I just kind of wait till the end of the game and then see the final score. Like if they're playing, you know what I mean? Like I just want to see how
Yeah, I'm like,
badly they
"Oh,
beat them.
nice. They're
Oh,
winning
nice.
by 30."
Exactly. And then I'm upset when we win by less than 10 points versus in those first 5 weeks. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? It's just weird.
I'm happy that Oregon and, UW came to the Big Ten
Yes.
because like, that
Yes.
Oregon game was awesome.
That Oregon game was so nice to see this early in the season. It was so much number 2 versus number 3, and
Yeah.
you could tell that the committee loved it too because they only dropped Ohio State to number 4, I think, in the nation. I don't
Mhm.
know, so it's just it's not that big
And
of a
Oregon
drop
went to
off,
1.
and Oregon went to 1. So you're going to have those kinds of those things with college football, but we digress. Obviously, it's one of those things where you want to keep it outside of Columbus. You want to have the Browns stay in Brook Park. I don't mind it personally. I think the city of Cleveland is just really trying to flex their muscles with this and really try to, let future owners and the current owners know this town can't
The
have
current
you going
mayor
to.
is mad. The current
Yes.
mayor is mad.
Oh yeah.
But
Oh
the
yeah.
Brook Park mayor, he's like, "Heck yeah, I'll
Oh
get the
yeah.
Brown stadium."
Like, and it's so funny because I think money talks, right? Revenue and the city.
Mhm.
You don't want to lose that big hit under your mayorship, right? I mean, you don't want there in the future. When you're running again for mayor, you don't want your
Like,
financial
"Oh, I
revenue
lost
to
the
go down.
Browns."
Yeah, it's like I lost the Browns and I don't have enough money. It's like why? Because the Browns moved. It's like so it's that tourism as well. But again, you still have the Cavs who are good. Donovan Mitchell wants to stay in Cleveland for the foreseeable future. The Guardians look really good. So when you're talking about moving the Browns in 2029, the Cavs theoretically should still be good. Theoretically, the Guardians
Should.
should still be good. So we'll see how that goes. Unfortunately, we do have some unfortunate news. I think every single Browns fan, if you're not a Browns fan, if you're a Browns fan and you don't know this news yet, I don't know what to tell you. So we're just going to get our reaction.
Been
But
living under a rock.
you've been living under a rock. Deshaun Watson has been confirmed out for the season. So unfortunately, the Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson, he was taking a shotgun snap and an attempt to carry the ball. And go for a run toward the end of the first half on the game versus the Bengals last Sunday. But before he could really pass the line of scrimmage, he crumpled onto the ground, reaching for his lower right leg. And if you were watching live, you could see it. As soon as they showed the replay, you saw the calf. He did a little bit of a buckle, did a little bit of a pop.
You
You could
saw the
see it,
pop.
and you can see that his next move was a stumble straight to the ground. Like you couldn't even force anything off the ground. You could just lay flat and the fans. I mean, let's take we're gonna talk about the fans in about 30 seconds here, but Deshaun was extremely, extremely visibly crying. I think he was more crying than Nick Chubb was
It's
last year.
it's one of the very few times I've seen a grown man just break down entirely.
Break down that badly. Like it was. Say what you want about Deshaun Watson and everything, but if you watch that video, if you saw the footage, he was ugly crying, and he lost his dad, lost his best friend. It's really rough, and you're down at your lowest point of your entire life, and you hear the crowd cheering, and so you're not playing the best football. You guys are 1-5 at that point, and you're not playing your best football. Blake, what do you think about the crowd cheering? What are some of the thoughts? I'm putting you on the spot here, right? Because this is a hot topic, but
Dude,
people are talking about it. What do you think?
I I understand why people are booing, but, like, that's disrespectful, dude. I don't I will never cheer for a man's injury or anybody's injury ever. Like, I understand all the off-field stuff. I understand the cases. I understand the settlements, and push that aside, like, he was still the quarterback of your team that you root for, okay? I understand he's been playing really bad, but that doesn't mean you cheer and hoot and holler just because this man's career has potentially ended. Like, to me, that just doesn't look good on our city. That doesn't obviously some of the players, especially Miles and Jameis and quite a few others, were very disappointed in us. And by us, I mean the ones who actually cheered. But I don't know. But you kind of have to expect that out of a stadium that holds 68,000 people. Like, there's
Right.
probably going to be about 500 goofballs that's going to hoot and holler just because Deshaun Watson's down. But to me, I feel like that's completely disrespectful, and you need to check your uh, life morals.
100%. I think like the first thing I kind of think about is look, you have every right to in the player introductions you can boo.
Yes,
You can absolutely boo.
like the booing at the beginning, perfectly fine.
Perfectly fine.
The booing when he got hurt, no, that doesn't sit right with me.
Exactly. And it is a subtle thing for me that I've been seeing on a lot of tweets, a lot of media personalities. A lot of people have been saying, um, you know, that the problem was that they were booing Deshaun Watson get injured. And I think I said this in the text message thread with you, Blake, or maybe it was on Twitter, but it wasn't that. This is something small. This is something subtle. The crowd wasn't booing Deshaun when he was injured. They were booing him during the player introductions. They were cheering when he was injured. Notice there's a difference there. Like cheering, being elated, being happy when the cart comes out. People on Twitter were saying, "Oh, they were booing Deshaun Watson. Are we not allowed to? We're allowed to boo. We're allowed to boo. We're allowed to." Yes, you're allowed to boo. Player introductions.
See,
Yes, you're allowed to boo on third
they
downs.
did boo when he fell over,
Yes,
but then when that replay showed on the jumbotron, people started cheering.
cheering. Like when you booed when he fell because you just thought that he maybe tripped over himself, and then you're there in the red zone, and that's fine. But when the injury showed that his leg popped, when the cart came out onto the field, and you're cheering, that's a problem no matter what.
That is a problem.
No matter what. Now, I will flip side this and say, if you're in your head saying, if you're one of those people who are for maybe 0.2 seconds thinking to yourself, dang, that's bad. But then on 0.3 seconds, you're like, but then again, we have
That's
other
kind of
quarterbacks.
what you wanted.
It's kind of what you wanted. That's different. That is different because that's like, at least keep it to yourself because you're not cheering. You're just like, well, the bright side is we have other quarterbacks.
Like I was telling you guys earlier, I was like, it's like God answered people's prayers, but like in the worst way possible.
It's like, Lord, take this friend out of my life, or take all the struggle out of my life, and then your friend just doesn't.
Like you wanted him benched so bad that God's like, bam, tore his Achilles, and you're like, well, dang God, not like that. And
it's like that's unfortunate, but DTR Jameis Winston, Bailey Zappi, who we just signed, breaking news too today. The Zap Attack quarterback Bailey Zappi. He was on the Kansas City Chiefs practice squad. And he was a quarterback, and if his name sounds familiar, he was a quarterback in New England who tore us up for 300 plus yards when we played New England. So I don't know how they did it, but that was the start of our away defense just being trash. But Bailey Zappi is a Cleveland Brown. But again, I think it's just, once again, I think it was not okay to cheer. I don't believe that it's okay to cheer, but I am okay with people who are like, well, we can move on quicker. fine, do that. If you do really like Deshaun, if you want to move on, then fine, whatever. But just don't cheer, because now what I wanted to talk about is, what does this look like to prospective players who want to come to Cleveland?
It affects them massive. Well, I think players that are already on the team, I think it affects them. But I don't think it affects players that are wanting to come to the team, or people who are going to get drafted to this team, or any of that, because that happens at any other place ever. But I think the players that are actually on the team already, that affects them the most.
Oh, 100%. Exactly. I don't think it'll affect drafted players, which I also have a theory, and I'll bring it up in a second, but I don't think it'll affect drafted players. But people on Twitter were saying, like, hey, well, it doesn't matter because money talks, and
it does talk.
It does talk. If you pay somebody, a large contract, a 3-4 year contract, a free agent, and you bring him in here, and you get to, like, a Daniil Hunter, if we try to get Daniil Hunter or something like that, like this show, there's a lot of potential, people out there that we can potentially get that are on free agent market after it. But at the same time, I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, those players usually give discounts to good teams that they want to be on. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll give a little push. They'll give a little $1 million off or something. They'll give a little discount because they want to play for your organization. They want to play for a winning culture. They want to do that. You think people are going to give a discount to come play to Cleveland when I know you're booing players' injuries just because you don't like them? You know what I mean? I mean, see, even I said it. You're cheering for injuries because you don't like them. That's the things that I'm talking about. How it's going to affect the psyche, right? And now we're doing it when we're 1-6. So
yeah, like the fans who did that just stirred the pot even more.
100%.
Like Myles Garrett should not be having to stand up there and tell the fans, like, "Hey, you shouldn't boo for." I will say Myles Garrett said, like, the worst quote ever about Deshaun.
Yeah.
That was so bad, but, like, I understand he's trying to, like, defend his brother, quote unquote. But yeah, he shouldn't have said that, but I understand why he did that, because obviously, like, that's something to be said, that fans shouldn't have done that.
And I wanted to talk about that too. What your thoughts were on their statements post game conference. I want people to know, because there's a lot of I don't know, and sometimes I don't know if media outlet people are just so, I don't know if emotional is the right word, but they're so quick to come at Myles or Jameis for saying Deshaun's a stand-up, or model citizen was the word, or Jameis said he'll put his life on the line, that Deshaun put his life on the line, and people were like, Deshaun's not a first responder, like he plays football. Like I saw one media guy was like, he plays football, or Myles saying that he was a model citizen, that media guy was tearing into him. What were you going to say?
The worst thing they could have done is what they did, and say something about it right after the game. Because
that's exactly what I just was about to say. Because
Myles got all worked up. Jameis really got worked up that it kind of, like, his story kind of drifted into his childhood and crap. But, like, if you listen to Rodney McLeod, by the way, if nobody knows, Rodney McLeod goes on 92.3 to Fan with Ken Carman and Tony Lima. Like, he talks to them every Tuesday. And
I didn't know that.
He talks to them for like a good hour. Like, it's good stuff. And today they talked about it, and obviously it's 2 days after.
Right.
And he gave a pretty good explanation about it. Like, I wish we could just have a clip so we could play it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to botch it, but
right.
I encourage everybody to go listen to what he said, because it's definitely way better than what Myles and Jameis said right after the moment.
Right. And if somebody asked you, right, like if somebody, clearly we're not in their relationship. We don't have their relationship, right? We only see Deshaun Watson from the outside. We understand the type of, the baggage that he came into the Cleveland Browns with. We see his play on the field, right? And we see that, oh man, he's stinking it up. He's one of the worst rated quarterbacks. But these guys, they are in the locker room. They're in the practice facility. They talk to Deshaun. They hang out with Deshaun. This is a brother for them, right? So immediately, to your point, Blake, if you go right after the game and ask them to give a response as to,
they're going to give you a hell of an answer.
Exactly. The fans were cheering. The fans were cheering. And now I don't believe if Miles got an opportunity, had 2 hours to just process it, right? And came back with maybe a written statement that he wrote himself, no PR, no chat GPT, him just coming back himself, I bet you he wouldn't have said model citizen, right? But he would have said stuff along the lines of
or most of his NFL career.
Or most of his NFL career.
I hated that. I so hated that.
Because that line is like omitting the obvious stuff. You know what I mean? But again, that's right after the presser. And Myles Garrett has to sit there, the star of the football team, in my opinion, bigger than Big Nick Chubb, right? The star of the football team has to answer a question as to why the fans were cheering his brother's season, maybe career-ending injury.
And just because he answered that like how he did, it makes him seem like he's so mad about it that now there's trade rumors and now everything is stirred up. Myles Garrett's not going anywhere.
No, he's
like
not going
this crap
anywhere.
needs to stop. It needs to stop.
He's not going. Listen, and I'll tell you something right now. A question I wanted to ask you too is what would a Myles Garrett first and foremost?
You get the exact same picks that you got for Deshaun Watson. You get almost the exact same
package. Because most people said if another team came and tried to pick up the phone and you know you call for Myles Garrett,
they'll pick up the phone, but they won't listen to you.
Right?
I'm sorry, other teams.
If they don't click the phone, but what if you had 10 seconds to pitch or 10 seconds and to listen? What would be said for you to listen for at least 10 seconds?
It has to be 2 or 3 first-round picks.
It would have to be 2 or 3.
You are getting a first ballot Hall of Famer. You're getting a first ballot.
100%.
You have to have 2 100%. At least first-round picks. 2.
I think that if the Detroit Lions wanted Myles Garrett, and I mean this in all seriousness, I'm not staying on the phone until it starts with Jameson Williams and 2 firsts. I'm not even going to stay on the phone.
And for Myles' sake, I would honestly ask him if he would even be down for it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you would have to.
Ken Carmen said this morning also. I would generally go up to Myles Garrett because he means so much to this city and everything else. I would generally go ask him like, hey, like we're getting these proposals. Like, would you be okay or would you rather stay?
Yeah.
Because either way is a win for you.
Yes.
And either way is also a win for us.
Yes. And
your decision.
100%. And Myles Garrett, Myles Garrett right now is 28 years old. He's going to be 29 in December. And I'll tell you right now, I personally, I'm biased. I think but it depends on the week. But I think he's one of the 2 best.
It's him and TJ Watt.
It's him and TJ
all day,
Watt.
every day.
It's always defensive player in the league, regardless of position. It is him and TJ Watt.
I think them 2 are the best of all time.
Yeah, arguably. It has to be.
And they're in the same era.
Exactly. And sometimes I keep thinking, people hate me for this because it's in division, but TJ Watt, the motor. But I mean, let's not even talk about it. I think right now it would have to be you give me 2 firsts and you give me a wide receiver or something. Because you have to.
You have to have enough picks to be like, okay, we just gave away our franchise. We got to be in rebuild mode fast.
We got to be
because that's what happened to the Texans, and look what they have now. They have a playoff team that will most likely be a playoff team for the next 2 decades.
Right, and because they were already trash, they got
rid of their franchise player.
Yes,
got all these picks.
Yes,
and now they're back in it within 3 years.
They're double dipping Derek Stingley Jr. You got Pietre, Will Anderson. So you got a lot of good pieces. John Mechie, Tank Dell. You got a lot of picks. And you can
Like,
do that.
There'd be a lot of fans conflicted because do you trust Andrew Berry to make those picks? Do you trust Andrew Berry to make 2 first-round picks for 3 years?
Can I also ask you another question too?
Or do you make him do the trade because he's so good at trading, and then you be like, all right, buddy, see ya, and then you get another GM and make him do the picks?
I wanted to ask you another question. When's the last time that Andrew Berry was able to? People question his draft ability, but Andrew Berry hasn't had the number 1 overall and the number 4 overall pick that we had.
He had number 10.
You know what I mean? He
picked Jed Wills.
Was it Jed Wills? So it's like,
or was it him? I believe so.
We got to look back at what it was. But I know John Dorsey got the 1 and 4, right? The 1 and 4 pick when he picked up Baker Mayfield and Denzel Ward out of Ohio State. Again, two pretty good picks.
And then Nick Chubb in the 3rd.
And Nick Chubb in the 3rd.
Or something like that.
A draft. When I'm talking about a good, solid draft, that was one of them, really. That was one of them. You know what I mean? And again,
the Joker of the year before.
You were drafting pretty dang good players. But again, you had a lot of high draft picks. Andrew Berry really hasn't had a lot of high draft picks. So no. I'm not trying to give Andrew Berry a pass for his drafting ability. But what I will say is, if you did make a crazy trade with Myles Garrett and got some first-round picks, he could do something with it potentially.
Like he's picking the flavors that are just left after the main flavors are sold out, or something like that. Some analogy
exactly.
Like,
you don't have very many toppings on the ice cream when the sprinkles and the chocolate sprinkles and the cherry on top is all out. Now you're left with marshmallows and you know what I mean. And it's just not as appetizing. It's hard to hit on those. Now he did with Martin Emerson. I was screaming. I was like, "Who the heck is Martin Emerson?" My wife has a video of me when we'll post it to Twitter later. My wife has a video of me when we drafted Martin Emerson, and I was on the phone with Christian, the KFC here down with the Browns, another host. And I was like, "Who on earth is Martin Emerson? Who on earth is Martin Emerson?" I had no clue.
I already knew who Martin Emerson was because Domo on Twitter was talking about him for months on end.
He was
because he loves Mississippi.
He was, and again, Martin Emerson has turned out to be a pretty good.
His best draft pick was JOK and Grant Delpit.
Yes,
that's his best.
Yes, and JOK was a steal because of the heart condition. You know what I mean? And it's so it's like it's hard to see a lot of these situations where we're trusting. I trust his ability when it comes to the secondary, but the Cleveland Browns cannot draft wide receivers. We can't draft wide receivers. We just simply can't. And it's time to start drafting via the eye test. If somebody looks like they got it, stop with the analytics just once. If somebody looks like they got it, go get them. Because that's what happens with the Carolina Panthers with Bryce Young. You were analytically driven. That guy is 5'9".
When CJ Stroud was
pounds.
CJ Stroud was the obvious pick.
The obvious pick. And they said they doubled down after CJ Stroud won Rookie of the Year. They doubled down. And now look what Bryce Young is. I can't stand it. I did want to talk to you about a question that the KFC proposed, right? Would you be upset with the Cleveland Browns potentially going after one Bryce Young?
Yeah. I just don't think he's good, dude. Like, he's Kyler's size, but he can't run like Kyler. He can't extend plays like Kyler. Like, he's a pocket pat. He's literally a Drew Brees that's like significantly worse than Drew Brees. I don't know.
Quite literally.
But he was also dealt like a pretty terrible hand with the Carolina Panthers. Yes. I will give him that. But like the only way you could get Bryce Young is they would have to let us get like we'd have to let go like a 6. Like the Carolina Panthers would have to be okay with like a 6th rounder for Bryce Young. There's no way you could get anything higher than a 3rd.
And truthfully, And truthfully, we did them a favor with the Baker Mayfield trade, right? Eating a lot of his contract. The Carolina Panthers were like, well, I know you got to get rid of him. I know you got to get rid of him. So they kind of pulled our arm with that, right? He was supposed to go to Seattle, if you remember. Seattle was one of those trade teams that they were going to be
that would have been
potentially.
cool.
That would have been real cool to see Baker Mayfield in the Seattle Seahawks jersey, but the Carolina Panthers took advantage of the position that the Browns were in. And so now we're just going to have to take a position. We're going to have to take, you know what I mean? We know you don't like Bryce Young. You benched him. You have Andy Dalton in there right now. We know you don't like Bryce Young. So don't act like he's the bee's knees and you want 2/3. Like, no. You're going to, I'll take a fifth and I'll send somebody over there.
Quarterbacks are based on their previous play literally the last week.
Yes. Yes. I would send Jed Wills and a fifth over there.
Because why do you think Deshaun Watson went for 3 first-round picks? Because he was based on his play the last time he played. Which was second in the MVP race.
And for me, that which 100%, Blake, what a beautiful point. Because I think it was recency bias can kill you in this league. Recency bias will kill you. That's why draft picks, boom. Like, I think Shedeur Sanders right now is a second-round pick, but I think he's going to – I know people chew me out for that, but I think he's going to bump into the first round due to a bowl game. He's going to go crazy in a bowl game.
The Panthers might draft him.
Yes.
They might draft him, and I don't know. We might draft him.
Now, what do you have to say about people who are saying, speaking of Shedeur Sanders, I'm flying all over the place, and then we're going to highlight the Browns game and then kind of talk a little bit about what the Ravens are going to, how much the Ravens are going to beat us by. But when you're talking about Shedeur Sanders, do you think that Deion Prime Sanders is going to allow his son to come play in Cleveland, or do you kind of think, that doesn't matter?
I was thinking about it, and I feel like with Deion Sanders, he would want his boy to take on that challenge.
Yeah.
Like, but then again, it's also still going to bring all of that family drama. But like, I feel like Deion would be like, "Let's go, boy, turn the Browns around. Like, you can do it." Like, I feel like that's what it would be like. I feel like it wouldn't be like, "Oh hell no, we ain't going to the Browns." Like,
I think it's important to really think about, like, the way I had to think about it was to put myself, which is very hard to do, but because I'm 5'10" and my wife's like 5'2", so I don't know if we're gonna have a really athletic child. But like, if I were Deion Sanders and I saw the dysfunction in Cleveland, if I saw them cheering for an injury, if I saw, what's going on in Cleveland, the way it's being ran, the organization, I might turn my nose up at that because I don't know if my child has the same confidence level that I did when I was playing, right? Like, Deion Prime Sanders knew he was better than everybody else.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll go there, whatever. But does Deion believe Shedeur has the confidence or the ability to do it? Now, what does look appealing is that new stadium in 2029, because theoretically he should be the quarterback when that new stadium opens. So that might be appealing in some sense, but at the same time, it's like, I don't know if I'm speaking it like I'm Deion. Does my son have what it actually takes to be thrown into the deepest lion's den, the fourth depth level of the lion's den, which is the Cleveland Browns fan base and the media that's notorious, right? Does he have what it takes to bring them out? This isn't New York where it's like, oh, it's New York Giants football. This is Cleveland. Well, they will chew you up and spit you out. So I don't know. That's a good question. It's a question to be had. I feel like he will say no and tell Shedeur to go to Las Vegas or something like that, where the expectations are a little bit low.
He's gonna make sure his boy is in the right fit.
Yeah. Yes, that's another thing.
It's all about fit, and it's all about how you do. Like, Jaden Daniels and the Commanders, oh my God. Like, perfect fit, perfect outcome so far. And the crazy thing is, he got hurt, didn't he, last this past week, and they dropped 40-some points with
Yep.
Marcus Mariota.
Yep.
Like, is he just fit for that team because they still scored 40 points, or
something else?
Yeah,
it's hard.
Like, I want Cam Ward, but like I will not be mad if Shador comes, but I feel like it'll be more difficult if Shador's comes.
Yeah, I think it'll be hard to, and because of all the lights and everything, I feel like maybe we're just tired of the quarterback coming in with so much expectations. We have Baker Mayfield with all the commercials and the planting the flag and winning the Heisman, and everybody loved Baker. And
this comes in with the Jameis thing too.
Yeah.
If we move on, like if we slide into this, because I personally, I know you love DTR, Manny.
Yeah.
But I just don't think DTR is there. I think he can't get over that hump, that if he messes up, like he can't come back and fix it, that it just becomes this big old snowball effect, and like he just makes bigger and bigger and bigger mistakes. And I don't know if he can ever get over that jump. So like this has to be Jameis like through the rest of the season.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And let's speculate that Jameis like plays good. Like let's say Jameis has like this Geno Smith type comeback. Okay. And this is just my theory on what the Browns I think they should do. Let's say Geno Smith Geno Smith. Let's say Jameis balls. He plays like Geno Smith. The Browns got 13 point something million dollars of insurance because Deshaun got hurt. Okay. Let's say they sign Jameis to a team-friendly deal, like a 2-year team-friendly deal, and they're going to start him, okay? And then they draft a quarterback this year, okay? They're going to let Jameis play this out. They're going to teach whoever's quarterback they like Jameis teaches and stuff. And then Jameis will just go on his way, and then here comes a new quarterback. You have the new stadium, like new era, and then they just go from there. That's just how I think it'll play out. And then with the money part with the Deshaun, I think he'll just be on the team, and they'll just keep restructuring like they have been. So like Deshaun might still be on the team in like 2029, but he's like the third string quarterback making like $20 million. Like that's the only way. That is the only way. That's the only way you can do it, unless you take a $72 million cap hit for 2 straight years.
It would be so it would be something insane, because again it has been done. The Denver Broncos, $33.2 million cap hit on Russell Wilson to literally say get out of here, and now Russell Wilson's balling in Pittsburgh,
and they look good.
And they look good. You hate to see it, you really do, but they have 2 quarterbacks over there that they can kind of interchangeably use, and I think they're going to go with Russell Wilson moving forward because they think they have a playoff football team over there, and they just happen to see themselves in a 5-2 scenario, and they're like, well, if we have to go to the playoffs, let's just have Russell Wilson, and then we have him on a 1-year deal. We're not going to extend him, so let's just have him play out and see where we're at. So, give him an opportunity to make a big contract somewhere else, make a big splash. But, really quickly before we go over and move on to the Bengals game, it just thought to me, if the Steelers don't re-sign Russell Wilson, would you try to take a stab at him?
Yes.
Yeah, for next year?
But it depends on how Jameis does.
I gotcha. I'm going to put that tweet out.
Because Jameis, I don't think anybody realized this either. Deshaun Watson had, I think, 2, I can't remember if it was 2 attempts or 2 completions of intermediate passes the whole time he was playing in the game last week, and Jameis had 3 in 1 drive.
Wow.
Like Jameis is going to sling the football to those guys that are wide open in the middle of the field.
Oh yeah,
like this is going to be like not the add the color to this, but this is going to be Black Joe Flacco.
Oh
like
yeah,
this is literally what it is. Like they're just gonna do the heavy play action. Jameson will be like, let's go.
He's gonna sling it.
Yeah, like it's just gonna be like I don't want to like put the fantasies together like he's gonna play just as good as Flacco did.
Right, but
it's gonna look like it. It's gonna look like it. The ball is going to fly. Yeah.
So I'm excited. I love, like you said, I love DTR. I follow.
I do too.
His mom and I go back and forth on Twitter in a good way. You know what I mean? And I absolutely love the way he plays the game of football. I loved him all the way at UCLA. I wanted him to.
He's so athletic. He is so athletic.
I think we need to give him a fair shot because the one time we did give him prep time, he beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. But when we don't give him,
that was weird this week too.
Yeah,
the whole switch
thing, and just I believe,
and we weren't given clear answers.
No, I don't know, Blake. I have no idea why the coaches did that.
The NFL must have told him like, "Hey, Deshaun's going to tear his Achilles this game."
It is the freakiest conspiracy thing I've ever seen, and there's no way for you to possibly know it because you see the video that Deshaun popped his cap.
All of my friends and all of these people that are friends with me on Facebook, like they always message me because I'm the Browns fan. They're like, "Why isn't Jameson? Why isn't Jameson?" I'm like, for some reason, they decided to switch him to the quarterback, and I have no idea why. And Kevin Stefanski literally said that the backups didn't take a single rep with the ones all week, and apparently there was some things that they might have saw on tape that they thought some plays would work with DTR, which, to be honest, one of the DTR runs that he had was probably one of the bigger plays of the season, of that run that he had.
Yeah.
Like, I love DTR. Like, if his mom's watching this, like, there's nothing against your son. I love him. He just has this snowball effect that if something goes wrong, it gets worse and worse and worse. And for some reason, he can't get it to stop.
Yeah, 100%. And I think once again, I mean, like, I want to see what we have in DTR. And it's also a little bit unfortunate because we're not in the position.
We're not in the play the newbie quarterback.
Exactly. Right.
We need the guy. We need Jameis, the vet, to run the team.
Right. And we're not there yet. We're simply not there yet. And I think that if you fast forward a year and magically Deshaun Watson's not on this roster and Jameis Winston's not on this roster, but you have a rookie quarterback in Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders, and they pan out to not be good by week 6, and you have to bench them like Bryce Young did, or like the Carolina Panthers did with Bryce Young, then you let DTR play the rest of the season. But in this case, you really can't let DTR play the rest of the season unless Jameis Winston goes 0-3 in the next few games. Then you might as well chalk the season over.
You cannot start DTR against the Ravens.
No,
we know what
happened last time. I mean, that was on 10 minutes rest. Obviously, 10 minutes notice, but still, they
cooked him. They
cooked him.
Jameis is going to sling the football, dude.
Oh yeah,
and plus Joe Flacco didn't have Nick Chubb. We're gonna have Nick Chubb.
So
it's going. I don't know. I think it's going to take our bottom tier offense to middle of the pack offense. And I don't think people realize how drastic that will be. We might score 20 points this week.
We might score 20 points.
We are the only team in NFL and college and hell, maybe even high school to not score 20 points. Like, we're the only team standing to not score 20 points, and it's been 7 weeks.
People need to understand how bad.
There was 3 MLB teams. There was 3 MLB teams this year that scored 20 runs.
Yes, and that's insane. They don't even call them points; they call them runs. You get those bad boys one at a time. So you know what I mean. To not get
3 teams did that.
To not score 3 touchdowns. Or any combination. I mean, the Steelers almost did that with 6 field goals. I mean, my goodness gracious. So I don't know. Look, whatever. You know what?
But let's go, Jameis. I'm throwing up the W's.
Throw up the dubs.
I'm throwing up
Throw
the
up the
dubs
for Jameis.
and I'm gonna ride. I'm gonna ride like I did last year, dude. They need there is some god out there that would give the Browns 9 wins out of the next 10 games. Like I can see it.
Yeah.
It's in my fantasy somewhere, and I just know like it could happen. Kevin Stefanski could like somehow win Coach of the Year for the third time, and then they would never even have a top pick to draft Cam Ward or any of them guys, and then who knows what goes on? Like
who knows what happens?
Who knows? Like we will Sunday starts a new story of this team, and it's going to be crazy.
So speaking of old stories, this past week, the Cincinnati Bengals finally, once again, like I said at the beginning of the show, finally came into Cleveland and beat the Cleveland Browns.
Hang the banner.
Man, oh man, it's the first time that Joe Burrow has done that in his very decorated NFL career. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League. The Cincinnati Bengals are now 3-4, and of course we're 1-6. But Joe Burrow didn't have that crazy of a game.
Is this the second or third time he's beat the Browns?
This is the second time. He's second time.
Just imagine the teams that he played, like the Browns teams that he's played. Okay.
Yeah.
The first time he beat the Browns in Cincinnati, it's Deshaun Watson's like second game as a Brown.
Yeah.
And this time he plays 3 different quarterbacks, and like they only won by 7.
And if it wasn't for that kick return for a touchdown, it'd be 14-14.
Yeah, it's a tie. It's a tie game, and we left like 11 points on the board. Like,
exactly. We missed a bunch of
Dustin
field
Hopkins.
Dustin Hopkins. Something's going on with Dustin Hopkins. Something's going on with Dustin Hopkins.
On that kickoff, dude, I feel like there's something wrong with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you saw his effort on the kickoff, I think he was scared to pull his hammy again, like he did against the Houston Texans.
Yes.
There was a bunch of people saying like it was poor effort, and I'm like, dude, he's not trying to redo that injury, but I don't know what's going on with him. I don't know what's going on with him.
I want to give a spotlight to extremely quietly, because the headlining story was Deshaun Watson, which, by the way, Deshaun was 15 for 17 passing with 128 yards. He wasn't that bad, but he was also,
but it was also not that far passes down the field.
Exactly. Like throwing a lot of
exactly.
When you're looking at a lot of these passes, because Joe Burrow threw completed 15 passes just as well, but he had 181 yards and obviously 2 touchdowns. But at the same time, very quietly, Cedric Tillman with 8 receptions and 81 yards.
Yes, Eddie, let's go.
I mean, obviously, when Dorian Thompson-Robinson came in there, I mean, they were really
poor Jerry, dude.
Man, Jerry was probably super upset because he's like, I'm getting paid all this money, and now Cedric Tillman has 8 receptions. It's
your
like
wide receiver 1 just leaves.
Yeah,
I guarantee he was told like, hey Jerry, like your time, buddy.
Your time. And then all of a sudden, it's like you're looking at this like, are you kidding me? Are you really?
Another thing I'll say is I don't know why he catches with his body a lot. I've noticed that.
Yeah, it's not. He does do a lot of body catches. Now he did have 5 targets. Some of them were off target, but with Cedric Tillman having 12 targets, I mean, my goodness, a lot of that is Dorian Thompson-Robinson because they went to high school together.
Yeah, they like each other.
The defense showed up. The defense loves playing Cincinnati.
And another thing that sucked is that there was another instance of Deshaun Watson starting to look like himself, and then he gets injured.
Honestly, above all, we might have to start having a conversation about if he's just injury prone now. I mean,
I potentially think his career is over. I potentially think he is considering retirement.
Yeah, I don't know. It's so
he's had 4 catastrophic injuries in his football career.
Yeah.
He has torn his ACL twice. He has had the broken shoulder last year, and now he has a torn Achilles, who is now the Achilles is now the boogeyman of injuries. It used to be the ACL, but they got it figured out Like when I
to a
tore
T.
mine, like they didn't figure out yet, but now they can figure it out in like 6 months.
Yeah.
And now the Achilles takes like 12 to 15.
Yes. And
Like
so
he
if
might not even play a down next year either.
yeah, and if you there could be a scenario where I don't know. I think a lot of this time off is going to have to be mental for him. It is
Oh my gosh.
to go through, like, forget about the mental hurdle that he had to go through to get for rehab, like Nick Chubb, right? But this is rehabbing, and now there's no football to distract
I-
you from the fact
It's
that you lost your dad, you lost your best friend. The crowd was cheering.
another case happened.
Another case happened. This is time where now you're not going over the playbook. You can't distract himself. To be honest with you, Blake, if any of my grandchildren or anybody asks me what was the reason that Deshaun Watson wasn't good, I truly believe now that it was
It's his
all
mental state.
mental. And whether you believe that he did or didn't do, whatever the case may be, all of a sudden, those 20 plus allegations get to you. They get to you.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can't concentrate on football during the week when you have to talk to your lawyer on Tuesday at 12. You got a Zoom meeting with your lawyer on a Wednesday at 3, and then you got practice afterward. You have to go over those accusations or whatever the case may be, those allegations. It's hard. It would be hard. It's hard enough to be an NFL quarterback, and I'm not defending him whatsoever.
And another thing is too that like he's not ever gonna play like himself ever again.
Yeah.
I understand Aaron Rodgers is different because he's 40, but like Aaron Rodgers can't look to his left.
Yes.
Like Aaron Rodgers can't move at all.
Yes.
It's like Ben Roethlisberger back there.
Yes.
And it might, depending on how the surgery goes for him, but it might turn him into a hear me out. It might turn him into a Kevin Stefanski type quarterback. Like a standstill gunslinger. Like he's gonna have to change his play style, and I don't know how he's gonna handle that.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, and I think that it's there again. There's and just to not to digress, but like going back to the game, I think that the defense looked great. Greg Newsome got cooked by Jamar Chase. I mean, that's going to happen when you're a corner. I don't think he's a scrub. I just think he got cooked on that one play. And at that point, the defense, probably with Deshaun going down, it's probably like, man, the defense can encourage themselves only so much. And I've talked to you about I've talked to you previously, Blake, about some of the concerns that I have about this defense is finding that motor, finding that spark. And when it comes to division play, especially against the Cincinnati Bengals, maybe because, in state or whatever, they just can find that motor themselves. But I think when Deshaun went out, that motor was like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, you just kind of give up at there.
I mean, it was like the Nick Chubb thing all over again.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy because I was there for the Nick Chubb injury.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there. I'm 23 years old at the time, and I'm literally crying. And there's like dudes around me older than me that's not even a part of the team crying.
Did they show that injury on the big screen?
Oh yeah.
Once? Yeah. Just once, right?
Oh, yeah.
They probably once, and then they were like, "Oh shoot!"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it was bad.
So, moving forward this Sunday, obviously, the really red hot Baltimore Ravens team. Mark Andrews is getting involved. Zay Flowers is getting involved. Marlon Humphrey, he was injured, but he had 2 interceptions last night. They just put up a 50-piece McNugget against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay Buccaneers tried to make it a game a little bit, right? At the end,
for Baker putting in that upper deck he's in, and taking Zins on the sideline.
Baker came back down to earth a little bit. He's still Himothy. He's still Himothy down there. He's still the answer. I just want to say one quick thing about Baker. Congratulations. I mean, I don't have.
I feel bad that he's not going to have receivers though.
Yeah, Chris. Shout out to not RIP. Oh my goodness gracious, but like Chris Godwin. That was also a nasty hip drop from Roquan Smith. Chris Godwin's going to definitely miss some time.
He took that. He didn't cry though. Did you see him? He's
Yeah,
like,
he did. Yeah, he's like,
he said to his trainer, he goes, "Back to work, John," or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
It was kind of cool. Like it was kind
Yeah,
of cool. Like he was like, "All right,
he kind of
back to
knew.
work."
He's like, listen, we got to rehab. We got to rehab.
Mm-hmm.
And I forget his contract situation, but I'm sure he's pretty much set over there. But with Lamar Jackson coming in hot, he's definitely an MVP candidate. Once again,
I think he's the front runner right now.
He's the front runner, and a lot of people are like, well, one medium outlet member was like, you can't be MVP unless you do something in the Super Bowl, but it's a regular season award. So, but anyway,
I think he's behind Tom Brady. And I can't remember if it's Peyton Manning or somebody else, but he's behind those two for most games in the NFL. That's 5 touchdowns and 0 picks. Lamar has 5 of them, and Tom Brady has 8.
It's insane. It's insane. He is a problem. They have to figure it out, because every year they can win 12 games. But it's just the playoffs where you gotta really win those games.
And they hosted the AFC title game last year.
The Ravens defense isn't very good. I mean, it
nowhere
isn't very good
as last year.
But no way they're good as last year. But I think that Patrick Queen departing, I think helped. It was huge. But at the same time, I think this week I can see us losing. I'm so
optimistic. I'm so optimistic. I can literally see us winning the game. I can literally see it.
This is what I was going to say. I can see us lose. Like, if I had to put my money on something, and I would say we're going to lose. But at the same time, I would not be surprised if we won the football game.
Is this team going to give up?
Yeah.
Like,
I think we're going to – it's going to be one of those things where you're like – you have your hands out and you just happen to catch the bouquet. Like, you weren't even going for it, but it just landed in your hands. Like, I think that this is going to be a situation as to where Lamar fumbles the ball. He's going to turn over happy. He'll fumble the ball. We'll get the ball out our own 20, and then we just happen to score a touchdown. And then he throws a pick.
Defense going to play their asses off.
Exactly. I think.
Or they think the season's over and they just stop playing and
exactly.
I don't know which way they're gonna go, because the only way you make the playoffs, you might make it at 9-8, but that means you can only lose 2 more games for the rest of the year.
Yes, which, by the way, this AFC, the good news about the AFC this year, it's not as
it kind of sucks.
It kind of sucks. There is a lot of people, because of injuries, the Miami Dolphins, the New York Jets, like all these teams that we thought were going to be good.
Like the Colts and Broncos are the 6 and 7 seed right now.
Exactly. So if you go out there, if you beat the Baltimore Ravens, and then you just so happen to find yourself beating the LA Chargers, the team for some reason we can't beat for the past couple of years, they just go for whatever. There's so many stupid reasons why we can't beat them. But then you head into the bye week and you're sitting at 3-6, but then you play the Saints Steelers after that. It's like that's enough juice. You know what I mean? Like, you're playing division games, you get enough juice.
Yeah, like this season could go crazy, like it did last year. I don't think people understand. Like, Jameis legit might spark the offense.
Yes.
I know Deshaun Watson played so bad, and I know Jameis is not going to play as bad.
Yeah.
I know he's not.
Yeah.
Like, I will put money on it.
I think that, the last thing I'll say, pertaining to like the season part, is I think that like moving forward, I think the Browns are going to do the most Browns things possible and win some games they're not supposed to, and then knock themselves out of being like a top 3 pick, if that makes sense. Like, I would not be surprised at all.
Like, I saw earlier in the year, they were projected to be the 8th pick. Do you think they'd be a top 10 pick still? Or do you think they could potentially play to where they're not in the top 10 anymore?
I think they will play themselves into a top 10 pick, because I don't have that much faith in Jameis Winston. If the way the way the games are structured, I guess is what I'm trying to say. The way the games are structured, it's hard to lose hype in yourself because those AFC North games are so clustered.
We're not out of it. Like, I don't care what anybody says. We're still not out of it.
No, because
it's not over till the fat lady sings, boys. Like, it is still 100%.
On. 1,000%.
The Detroit Lions were like
we're 1-6.
They were 1-6. They were 1-6 at their bye week, and
the exact
they
same
barely
scenario.
missed it.
And now, truthfully, that jump started everything. Obviously, they have Dan Campbell, who is a motivational speaker. That's the difference. Number one, and number two, they did have Jared Goff. That is a big difference as well. But at the same time, you look at the AFC. I mean, the Colts are, like you said before, the 5 and 6 seed right now. I mean, 6 and 7 seed are the Colts and the Broncos. Like you said, they're both 4-3, and then after that is a whole lot of like 3-3, 3-4, 2-4. You know, so the Bengals, who are 3-4, the defense, the team could like. It's just so bad because the Titans are 1-5, the Patriots are 1-6, the Jaguars are also 2-5. Jets 2-5, Raiders 2-5, Miami Dolphins 2-4. Like, these are bad football teams in the AFC. Like, it is bad.
Like, 2 wins, okay, and you're the 8th seed.
Yeah. Yes. It's crazy. Crazy.
You're one spot outside of the playoffs.
So I don't know, but it's weird. It's weird. But do you have any potential score predictions for this game? As we close out, it's gonna be hard. This is interesting.
We're definitely gonna score more than 20 points this time, I believe. Is this game at home?
This is at home in Cleveland.
Oh, dude, I might go. I might go.
Yes.
That'd be cool. But it's just gonna be another AFC North matchup where you never know what's gonna happen. I'm going to just keep being optimistic like I am every week. Browns win. Let's go random here. Let's go 20. Let's go 27-23.
27-23 Ravens?
Yeah.
I'm going to give this I can see it going both ways. This is a scary game to bet on. Like, it's just I saw the Browns beat the Niners with PJ Walker. I don't care. Anything can happen. I talk myself into this every week. Like, I don't care how good or bad they are. I just think I am one of those fans that I just do not care who they have. I think they can win the game no matter what. Yeah, I could see this being really, 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 really disgusting, like it was last year with DTR being in.
Oh yeah,
and the Ravens won 28-3, I think it was. But I could also see it being extremely close, but the Ravens still, win like 33-31.
Like the Browns defense stopped the Bengals and held them to 14 points of offense.
Yes,
and the Ravens and Bengals played each other, and they both scored 30+ points.
Yeah. Like
it's possible.
It's possible. We play to each other's competition, and I think the Browns would want nothing more than to go out there and go crazy. As long as Jameis Winston does decent,
And for Jameis, this is a opportunity to get a deal somewhere, like in Cleveland or somewhere else, like
Tennessee or something. Yeah,
it's Jameis's time. They always give those number one picks like their chance. Like
Devil Dog just commented and said 70 Ravens 72 Browns 9. That's probably accurate, but I think it's gonna be the Ravens are gonna win this game very handedly.
I mean, most likely, but
I think the Ravens are gonna score 38. I think we're gonna get some garbage time points to get to 21. I do agree. I think we'll score 20 points.
It's gonna be competitive for about 3 quarters.
Yeah, hopefully we see decent football and something optimistic heading into.
I don't want to drive. I don't want to drive back to work 6 hours after a Browns loss that was ugly.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'd be more mad if they lost by 3 or something.
Yeah, you're like, bro, you could.
I don't know.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and watching the show. It is basketball season.
Go Cavs, baby!
Go Cavs! Go Celtics! It's gonna be a fun. The sports equinox is coming. All 4 major sports are playing. Enjoy the World Series, everybody, and as
Dodgers
always,
in 6.
Dodgers in 6. Go Browns, baby.
Go Browns.